Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. This will be our week 21 installment of a Victory Bible Baptist Youth Weekly Devotion Series on Think About It. So, this week, I'm going to borrow something from John June this week, something he'd been teaching in the boys' Sunday school class. And I'm going to borrow a little bit of his message, just some things that he had taught, then some things I've been thinking on this week. I had planned on doing something completely different, but after Sunday morning and his lesson Sunday morning, I kept thinking about what he was teaching on, and I decided to go ahead and do our devotion on kind of it this week. It's going to be kind of quick, short, but we'll start first with our song of the week, and I took this from our adult choir, recorded back some time ago. I believe the song is "Story Will Never Grow Old." All right. So that's good. Like I said, I borrowed this from John June's lesson. This from Sunday. I think he taught on it Sunday. I think he taught on it a little bit the week before last also, and we'll kind of get into it. So, and I titled this "Salt." Salt. What does salt do? So, and y'all know salt by itself. If you just eat salt by itself, it's bitter. But salt can be used as a food preservation. Salt is a natural preservation that can keep food fresh and safe for longer. It works by removing the moisture from the food, slows down water activity, prevents the growth of microbes and pathogens. This process is called salting, which involves coating the food with a layer of salt and preventing bacteria from spoiling it. Most of us around here, we're used to country ham, and that's how country ham is made. It's preserved with salt. Cleaning. Salt can be used as cleaning. I know my mother, as a kid, we had a wooden cutting board. Some of y'all might have seen your mothers do this or grandmothers do this. Sprinkling salt on a cutting board and rubbing it with a lemon half can remove grease and stains. And my mother used to use that on cast iron pots, same thing, or even her tea pitcher. It would get stained with the tea, and she would use salt and ice and stir it in that tea pitcher to clean that tea pitcher. So it can be used for cleaning. The other most common thing that we use it for is to make food taste better. So I love watermelon, and most of y'all know that if you take watermelon by itself, it's great. But if you add some salt to it, it's even better. Just like eating a steak. If we eat a steak by itself, if I don't put nothing on it, I love it, but I love to add a little salt on my steak. Most foods, if you add salt to it, it's better. It's just better with salt. And I believe the Bible, this is why the Bible uses salt so much through the Bible. And I looked up a couple verses, and what I want to try to show you out of this is God is striving for us to be a little better. So in Ezekiel 43 verse 24, and it said, "And thou shalt offer them before the Lord, and the priest shall cast salt upon it, and they shall offer them up for a burnt offering unto the Lord." So here in the Old Testament, they're performing a sin offering, and they're adding salt to it. So what does the salt do? It makes it better before the Lord. It makes it better. Then the other verse I looked at, and this is the verse John June used in his Sunday school lesson, or one of the verses he used. He was actually teaching a little bit different, but he did touch on this some. In Matthew 5:13, it says, "Ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt have lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? And it is thence good for nothing, but to be cast out and to be trodden under the foot of men." So the Bible says here, and this is the phrase that really jumped out at me, it says here that we are the salt of the earth. So as I mentioned before, if adding salt to food makes it better, then if the Bible then says we are the salt of the earth, then we should also make the earth better. So how do we do that? If we look at the Old Testament, the nation of Israel, as they followed God, they had peace, and God blessed them, and they prospered when they were following God. But we So, but when they stop following God, then God will remove His blessings from them. So, for us to make the world better, we need to we need to follow God. We need to spread His love around. We need to let others see Him in us. We need to be that light unto this world. And I think the rest of Matthew 5, that you'll read that about that light. And you know that if we're the salt of the earth, we're going to make it better. We make it better by telling others about Him. We start with ourselves first. We start with ourselves. We need to fix ourselves first, and then we're going to move on to our families, and then our school, and to work, and so on and so on. So we need to make the world better by telling others about Him, so that others can live for Him, and and then God can bless us. And you know, if we look at our nation, America, we was founded on godly principles, and our nation prospered and was great for years. But now, if we look at our nation now, we fell into sin. There's so many sinful things in our nation now, and our nation's suffering, I believe, because of that, because we've turned away from God. Our nation has turned away from God. And I believe that's why our nation is suffering so much with so many different things. So let's look at another verse here in Colossians 4:6. It said, "Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, that ye may know how ye ought to answer every man." And the little key thing I pulled out of this, the Bible says here, "Let your speech always with grace, seasoned with salt." So what do you think that means? Well, our speech needs to be better. We need to speak better. We need to, we live in a world that promotes free speech. Which is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, because now, the sinful part of our world are able to spread that. And the Bible tells us to let our speech be seasoned with salt. We as Christians need to control what we speak, how we talk about others, how the words that come out of our mouth. We don't need to use profane words. We don't need to talk bad about people. We don't need to talk bad about our church or other Christians, or even people we work with. We need to show honor and respect to those people. Our speech needs to be seasoned with salt. So in Mark chapter 9, verse 49 and 50, it says, For everyone shall be salted with fire, Every sacrifice shall be salted with salt. Salt is good, but the salt hath lost its saltness. Wherewith will ye season it? Have salt in yourself, and have peace with one another. So, and the key part, everyone shall be salted with fire. Just like we talked about preserving that ham, making country ham, we need God's saving grace in our life. Without Him, we are nothing. When God saves us, He preserves us. Just like that salt, He preserves us. And that salt, God is also, we talked about it. It was also a cleaning, like cleaning that cutting board or cleaning that tea pitcher I talked about. Cleaning. We need to be purified by God. We need God's forgiveness daily. We need to ask God to look into our hearts and show us things we need help with, and it's only the help that He can give us. So that was just a couple things I've been thinking about this week on salt. I want you to think about it some. Think about how that can help you. Look at these verses, study them a little more on your own time. Look forward to seeing y'all again this Sunday. Love you and thank you. Bye.